Good evening. I'm Tom Conrad, the Superintendent of Schools, and welcome to Superintendent Spotlight, a half-hour show dedicated to bringing programs and people forward for you to understand what's happening at the central office and throughout our district. Tonight's guest will be Sue Murray, and Sue, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And Sue heads up all the food services operation for us, and that includes every school within the Union 54 and the region itself. So Sue, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about where did you come from?
Sure. I was hired before I came to Nauset. I was working for Chartwell's, a management company,
Mm-hmm.
and I was working with them. I worked for Barnstable for 5 years, and then I was in Duxbury for another 2 before I came here.
So you came right from Duxbury,
Right from Duxbury.
Deluxebury as they
Yes,
call it,
yes,
right?
it's a beautiful town.
And you've been with us for 4 years.
4 years now.
Doesn't seem possible.
I know it goes by really fast.
Sure. So, I mean, this is a big operation
It
for
is.
us, and you know, we service hundreds and hundreds of students on a daily basis. So, what are some of the challenges that you faced coming into this district? And I know right away you had to establish a wellness policy, and
Mhm.
we had new guidelines to follow, didn't we?
We did. There was the new federal guidelines came out just the same year that I was hired here.
Mm-hmm.
So our biggest challenge was getting the students to enjoy and eat fruits and vegetables have to come with every lunch, whole grains, a variety of vegetables, different colors, greens, reds, orange, has to be served every single week, including the starches, which most kids like, potatoes, corn. You have to have low-fat, trans-fat-free items. So it's just getting the students used to the new transition and the new items. It's pretty much still their favorites. They're just reformulated so they're a healthier version.
And that was put in place by the federal government for everyone across the country to follow.
Yes, this is a USDA mandated.
Mm-hmm. And over the years, has it changed as we've moved forward through your 4 years?
It hasn't changed much. What they're trying to do is reduce the sodium in it. That's pretty much the biggest change that you'll see coming up, which is a little bit of a challenge considering most kids like a little bit of more processed food. But with that, you'll see a lot more homemade items made from scratch.
So it probably wasn't overly difficult to understand the challenge of what would we be serving the kids. It probably was much more difficult for the students to adjust to some of the changes we made.
Yeah, because a lot of kids had to get adjusted to the whole wheat because everything had to be whole wheat, including the pizza, the rolls, everything, everything that they have has to be whole wheat. That was a big adjustment.
And the students who take a regular meal from us, they get a serving of vegetables and fruit, whether they want them or not, right?
Correct.
And that's been an issue that we've had to work through over the couple of years, right?
Yes, because what happens is the school district gets reimbursed by the USDA for every student that gets eats. That includes everyone. So in order for it to be a reimbursable meal, which means the district gets reimbursed for it, has to have a half a cup of fruit or vegetable on each plate in order for that to happen. So that's what happens with a student that gets an apple or an orange that they may not want. But what we do is in a lot of the schools we try to have a sharing basket, so the kids that don't want to have those can put it in a basket for students, whether they take lunch or not, have an opportunity to have something to eat.
Now that was one of the painful pieces early on, wasn't it, of seeing kids throw good food away.
Yes.
And so this was a relatively new idea in terms of allowing a student to put it into the sharing basket or bowl, and anyone in the cafeteria could then take that piece.
Please, yes. And we try to, in each cafeteria, we try to do a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, so that way we're reducing those. So they're actually have an opportunity to take something that they like, opposed to something that just take to appease us having to take it. So we try to put enough variety out there that they'll actually eat it. So our sharing baskets aren't too big, which is great. But there are some there because you're always going to get those students that don't want to have that fruit or vegetable that have to take it. But I think majority of them now are eating most of that, or at least giving it to a friend or something. But eating it.
There is a money side to this, and I know that the boards are sensitive to trying to keep prices down so that everyone can afford to buy a lunch through this program.
Yes.
But also in the transition, we were seeing large deficits in most school budgets, and that was a problem for it, wasn't
It
it?
was huge. Yeah, when I first came on, it was very large, even the first year or two. But with trying to find menu items that the students will eat, along with great staff doing cost cutting and making sure that we're not throwing a lot away, we've done a tremendous job on keeping that, those deficits down.
So we've certainly come a long ways from the six-figure deficits that we were seeing early on, and particularly the region,
Yes,
to being at least level funded, and in some cases making a few dollars.
absolutely.
And
Yes.
one of the pieces is the quality of the food, isn't it? I mean, I
Yes.
know right away that was a concern of yours in terms of the fruit and vegetables that would be served to students. Where does the food come from?
Well, some of it comes from a distributor that we order from. Some of it comes from the government because we get funding from the USDA. And then what we're really trying to do is do a lot of farm to school and local buying. This year we got a local farmer, so we got some local apples from a farmer in Harwich. And we try to do some local ice creams from a local distributor here, to some snacks that they can buy. So we're trying to do a little bit of everything.
But even when the viewers hear the word ice cream, they're probably thinking right now, that doesn't sound so good. But you've done a lot of research on that with a local vendor, haven't you?
Yes, because there's certain guidelines for a la carte items or snack items that can be sold in a school. There's certain calorie counts and certain nutritional value that they have to do. So she's done all the research, and the calorie counts of these particular frozen yogurts, not actually ice cream, meet the regulations. So it's not just anything that can be sold.
You know, if I was watching the show, I would think, in the big scheme of this, doesn't the federal government have enough problems without worrying about checking up on what's happening in our food services here, particularly ourselves here on the Lower Cape? But we do have the responsibility of reports and audits, and we talk about that a little bit so people know that.
With the new regulations, each school system nationwide gets audited from the Department of Education every 3 years to see that we're compliant with all the rules and regulations. And that's everything from civil rights, which means each student has the right to nobody needs to know whether they're free, reduced, or paid. So, and that's why the POS system is in place. A lot of people want to know why that's in place, because it keeps the anonymity for students. So it keeps their anonymity as far as free and reduced, and recording purposes as well.
So let's make sure the viewers know that the POS is the point of sale.
Yep.
And for our kids, they swipe a card, don't they?
They have a 4-digit number that they have memorized. Most of them memorized. And they have to do is type it in or tell the cashier the number. And their account, which whether has money or no money, and it makes it accountable to each student. So that's also accountable to the Department of Education. So each lunch is linked to a student.
So that's present, and parents can put money into the account, and or students, and they just swipe the card and go through.
Right, and nobody knows whether they have money there or they don't have any money, whether they're charging, whether they're paid, whether it doesn't really matter.
Or free and reduced.
Free or reduced or anything. It doesn't.
That's great.
Yep. So it's total anonymity.
And so students can feel very comfortable.
Yep.
And so this audit, we've been through that process already.
This will be our second time since I've been here, and we do a tremendous job. And we don't have any fiscal action, which is great. But it takes a little bit to get through it, because it's usually a month preparation for it, because you have to send in all of your information that they ask for, including all the nutritionals for everything that is being sold in a specific week. They pick a week, and we have to tell them exactly and send them all the recipes, all the nutritional guidelines, everything for that particular lunch. So they're really monitoring everything that we do.
And when they audit the entire system?
The entire system.
So there's a lot of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork, and all the free and reduced applications. That's where it's great. Mary Ann in the central office does a lot of that stuff, so she did a great job.
So let's talk about Mary Ann, because one of the goals of this show is that people become better informed about what happens in central office.
Sure.
It's one of those areas, I think, in education that people have very little knowledge of, and hopefully people become a little bit more educated on what's happening there.
Sure.
So Mary Ann works for you, directly under you.
Yep.
And she is responsible. She's a full-time employee for us. What are some of her responsibilities?
She's in charge of all the free and reduced applications from the whole district. So she goes through all those, makes sure that they're correctly filled out, signed, and inputted into the point of sale system. So whether it determines whether they're free, reduced, or denied. She does all of the accounting for paying all the bills of all the schools. The managers send in all their invoices, so she pays all of those. Mm-hmm. And she does all the accounting for the food service program.
I see. I mean, obviously, this program, we run hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars through this program. Yes. In a school year. Mm-hmm. And she's responsible for all the accounting of that.
Yes.
Yeah. The free and reduced lunch eligibility standards have changed over years, haven't they?
Yes, they have. They tend to, the federal government determines the eligibility criteria, and it changes usually yearly in July. Mm-hmm.
And back to the food, because that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
What sort of things does the federal government provide school systems today?
Oh, sure. They will provide the center of the plate items like meat, chicken. They'll do a lot of fruits, some vegetables. We do get fresh fruits and vegetables actually in the region. In the high school, they'll supply some of those. Mm-hmm. This particular month, we've gotten dried cranberries, so you'll see those in school. So you get different dried fruits, raisins, things like that.
Do you get to pick off a list of what you want, or are there certain things that they're pushing out to the schools because they're in stock?
Well, we get a list from Massachusetts Department of Education. There's a whole list that the USDA has, and then Massachusetts picks items that they will let us pick from.
I see. So the state's got their hands in it.
Yes, state definitely has their hands in it. Yes.
And from a menu standpoint, talk about some of the changes. I mean, I always took lunch duty in my previous job as the principal, so I have a pretty good handle on what's being served. But you've brought a number of new ideas to the menu.
Well, especially the new items that are actually we brought to the high school and now into the middle school is the made-to-order deli line, which I think is a huge favorite. It's increased our participation in the middle school tremendously this year. And that gives the kids an opportunity to actually pick an items that they want to have on their lunch. So we were doing grab-and-go sandwiches, and they were okay. But this is much better because then they get to pick what they want. Bread, meat, cheeses.
So it's almost like a Subway.
Yeah, absolutely, yep.
And kids can walk right through that process and get exactly what they want. All the way down to mustard or mayonnaise and things like that.
Yep, exactly. And all of that fits the guidelines because we have a certain calorie count for certain age groups. So I've done all of that, done the calorie count, so they have exactly what they need, and it's all whole wheat bread. And
you get that whole wheat there.
They get it right there again.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think they're getting used to it.
I was over to the middle school just the other day having lunch with the kids, and I went through that line. It's one of my favorites, and the kids were really excited that they could participate with that deli line.
Yeah.
Now, do you sense that has any future, maybe going into the elementary grades?
I don't see that going into elementaries just yet because of the choices. Too many choices at the elementary slows the lines down, and so it gets a little confusing for them. So we try to keep it simple at that age. But as they get older, the choices become larger. Yep.
Wellness policies, wellness committee, and that was one of the first things that you were involved in when you came into the districts. Why don't you talk a little bit about what that's about and some of the issues that have come up to this point, and maybe we'll finish with what we're dealing with today.
Sure. The wellness policy is a mandated program by the Department of Education and the USDA, where each school system has to have a member of the community, a student, obviously the food service, nurses, teachers, pretty much everybody in the community that services kids in the school. And we try to meet 3 or 4 times a year. And some of the goals are, improving the food service, which we have done that, so that's always a goal. Improving their physical activity, if that's possible. Not so much gym, but outside of those areas. One of the ideas that is being kicked around now and talked about is maybe outside food being brought into school, because we deal with a lot of allergies with kids, and you just don't know what's in items that are being brought in. It's a lot of work for the nurses. So those are just some of the items, and then we always look at different wellness initiatives that are happening in different schools. We have a wellness day, which is April 28th, which every school will participate in, and they'll all do it in different ways in April.
There's a lot of discussion at that committee, not only from a food standpoint, but also activities that can happen from a physical standpoint in terms of kids taking care of their bodies.
Absolutely.
Because you have had a number of phys ed people involved at times
Yes.
on that committee.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a blend between the two, or a theme of trying to blend the two
Yes.
going forward. You had an event this fall, I understand, around apples.
Oh, yes, we had October 24th is what we call Food Day. It's a day that we try to. It's a national day that they've had. So we don't serve any processed food on that day. So one of the ideas was that we got from the program was Apple Crunch Day. So we had gotten apples donated from Ring Brothers, and each student got an apple that day. And certain schools took it on, and everybody's got an free apple that day. But certain ones, like Stony Brook, did it early in the morning, and each student got one that morning, and they all crunched at the same time. And it was fun to hear them do it at the same time. It was an interesting, fun thing for them to do.
Yeah, I saw.
And, yeah,
there was a picture in the paper. I think,
absolutely, and the kids liked it. Yep.
Yeah, and you, because I traveled to all the open houses this fall, you were a regular at those as well.
I am. I try to answer all the questions for the parents so they get an idea that food service is part of the program. We are part of the school system. I always say that we're kind of in the background. We're important, but we try to stay in the background. But, making sure the kids are staying healthy and fit so that way they can learn. They can, be at recess, have all those activities, because food is definitely an important part of their day and social.
One of the things that I've noticed over our time in public education is that the rigor of a school day at every level is intense.
Yes.
And at the younger levels, of course, they have the opportunity to go to recess a little bit, and at the secondary levels, we don't. But it's a break in the day, and a chance to. And I think the kids look forward to it in terms of getting out of class for a half hour or 25 minutes and having something good to eat. So it's taken on a whole nother challenge in terms of getting our kids relaxed and comfortable, and that's been involved in the settings as well, hasn't it? The facilities.
Yes, and also we compete with the social time as well because of the time it takes to get through. I mean, it only takes about 7 minutes to get through lunch, but that's 7 minutes you're not spending with your friends during that time, and that's why I'm always stressing to the staff the quality of the food because that will make a difference whether the students come in or not.
So the viewers understand that challenge. The high school has a 30-minute lunch, and we assign around 325 students to each lunch.
Right.
You don't have much time to service students during that time, do you?
No, and they have to usually walk across wherever building they're from. So we have the challenge if they're across to get through the line, get their food, sit down, eat, and actually spend time with their friends. So we get through really quickly. We move.
You have to be prepared.
You have to be prepared. I always say it's like the mail. We go at 11:30, no matter what. Be ready.
And you've introduced barbecues in some of the locations.
Yep, here at the high school during the nice seasons. We'll start again in April. Every Thursday, we have an outdoor barbecue, which the kids like. We have Taco Tuesday, which is a huge hit. And then we're just always trying to introduce new things. We have homemade soups here. So we're always trying something new, panini sandwiches that are on a grill. Something always new to get the kids. Parfaits, yogurt parfaits. We have grab-and-go salads. We have the grab-and-go salads. I think there's 5 or 6 different kinds that you can get.
The elementaries have a number of days where guests come in, either their parents or grandparents or special person and so forth. And that brings in a great deal of activity on those lunches, doesn't it?
It does. And each school is different, and they all get to bring in either a parent or a friend, a special person, and they get to eat lunch with them. And on those particular days, we have it the same lunch that the kids would have. So that way they get an opportunity to see exactly how their day would actually work. And different schools, Stony Brook has it every Friday. Some of them have them once a month. Some of them have them different times of the year. So it just, it depends on how it works for this specific structure of their school.
It seems that when I first came to the district, we were having a centralized kitchen, and food was prepared there and then shipped out. I think we used to have a van at one time.
I heard that, yes.
And the food was brought into buildings and so forth. That's not the case anymore,
no,
is it?
Each school is a cooking school. Every single school cooks in their school, so every lunch is made fresh that day.
The challenge, of course, as I hear that, is equipment.
Yes.
I don't know about you and your kitchen, but
Yeah.
it seems as though my wife is always looking for the newest and greatest
Yes,
gadget that we can get for the kitchen.
Yep.
What's the condition of our cafeterias from a cooking standpoint, and are they outdated? Are they improving?
They're improving.
Because that's infrastructure. I mean, that's not cheap.
Yeah, a lot of them need to be updated.
Mm-hmm.
They're a lot older, but as we go through it and the better we're doing, we're adding more new equipment. There's a lot of new equipment that's been added here at the high school. There's a few that's been added to the middle school. A couple in the elementaries are updating, but they're all older schools. So yeah, that'd be great to have them all remodeled. But we work with what we have, and we're creating a great menu with that. So yeah, they are older, and as we create more money and we create we're getting better. We're hoping that
Because quite honestly, we're cooking more food today locally in our own
yes,
individual schools than ever before.
correct.
I mean, it just wasn't the way it was done for many, many years. And when schools were designed or built, it wasn't with the idea that we were going to be cooking the entire
From
meals
scratch.
in these kitchens, right?
Right.
And that's why a capital budget's so important for the cafeterias going
Yes.
forward, that we have a 5-year plan, and you've been working on that for us.
Yes.
The challenge, of course, is getting the money.
Right. It is with anything.
And a unique way, and I think it was tremendously generous of you and Michelle particularly to volunteer to take on the concessions at the Firebirds this past summer. Why don't you talk a little bit about that initiative?
Sure, there was three of us. It was me, Michelle from the high school, and Judy from the middle school.
Oh, Judy came
Yep,
in on
Judy
that.
J. Absolutely. And then we had a couple of kids that helped. And we took on doing the Firebirds concession stand right outside the middle school, and it was a lot of fun. And it brought in quite a bit of money at the end of the school years. I mean, at the end of the summer.
So the concept was, and I know for many, many years they had a private vendor, but
yes,
it's actually located on our premises.
yes,
And the idea was that we needed to help ourselves.
exactly.
If we were going to improve either the facilities that we work in or even some of the equipment that we needed, we had to possibly look at something like this as an option.
Absolutely. Because lunch is at the elementary level is only $2.75, and at the high school and middle school is $3. And for what we have to serve, all the fruits and vegetables and different things, it doesn't always cover everything, and the staff and lights, and as everybody knows. So we have to look outside the box. So this was just one way to look outside the box, and it was a great win-win for everyone. It was there's 2 or 3 games a week for June, July, and just the beginning of August. So it was great part-time work for my staff that got to work and some of the kids. It was a great partnership with the Firebirds. We got to know them pretty well.
I hope you like baseball.
Yeah, well unfortunately we didn't get to watch too many of the games because it was extremely busy. And it was just fun getting to know the locals, and it got fun knowing some of the tourists that were here on a regular basis, because all those people came in on a lot of games.
And it was a quick learning curve, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because we didn't make that decision until really late spring.
Yeah, May.
May.
Just before the first about 3 weeks before the first game.
And so, if I'm in the ballpark with these numbers, we were able to take our expenses out of this because we had to purchase some equipment to do this.
Yep.
And when it was all said and done, we came close to having $20,000 to put into the program.
Pretty close, yes.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And the point of this is to our residents watching this is that I think this is a great example of us trying to help ourselves, and that money's gone into accounts to buy equipment and other things that will improve the services for our students going forward.
Right, and to hopefully not have to raise the school lunch prices unless mandatory.
Sure.
Right.
And so what are the plans? Can you give us an idea? Are we thinking of doing this the second year?
Yes, we are. We're looking into it. Purchasing a popcorn machine this year because we borrowed the one from here from the high school, and yes, we're looking into again this year. It definitely was worth doing it again, and I think it was a great partnership. And I think this year the Firebirds are going to actually have their shop that they sell all their trinkets up by us this
Oh,
time.
nice.
Yep, because we have to keep, according to the Board of Health, we can only be so far from the door from the school because we use the kitchen. So we unfortunately can't go to them, so they'd have to come up to us.
Nice.
Which I think was great because the fire department loved it because we weren't in the way.
Mm.
We weren't blocking any fire exits on and off, so I think we were in a great location for it. And some of those fly balls actually made it to us as well.
Seriously, well, have to get some netting up that.
Yes,
that
yes,
into
we're
the
going to have
corner
to.
and so forth.
Yep.
But the playoffs were huge.
Yes, it was fun. We were disappointed they lost the
Semifinals.
the semifinals. They were second to the last game, but it was fun being with them the whole time.
Yeah. So going forward, what are some of the challenges that you think we face in the next few years relative to this food services program?
Our biggest challenge right now is going to be being able to keep the program the way it is with the sodium requirements. Hopefully that they don't reduce them too much because that would eliminate some of the items the kids like the most. The biggest challenge is social time with the students, getting them through the. I mean, we get them through pretty quick, but you know how impatient some kids get about eating. So I think those are the two biggest ones, and then keeping our quality of food up is always a great challenge, and then hopefully we'll find some new ideas to get the kids in.
Well, I think you've done a great job for us in bringing this whole entire program around, Sue. And I know that you're working so hard to keep it modern and keep it fresh and checking new ideas. And so I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight and sharing with the viewers what's happening in our food services program. To our viewers, I want to wish you the best of holidays as we go into the holiday season. I hope in some small way we've been able to open the door of central office and give you some insight into what's happening, how your money is being put to work throughout the entire district. And I wish you nothing but the best going forward. And we'll see you in 2016. Good night.